How did somebody you know ruin their life in one day? The 19-year-old guy in Sydney ate a slug for a dare, got rat lungworm disease, went into a coma for 18 months, woke up a vegetable confined to wheelchair needing round-the-clock hour care, died about 10 years later from eating a single slug. Kid down the street had his best friend over, and his friend, being a 13-year-old boy, was being a total dickhead. Kid picks up a shotgun his brother left lying around in the dining room and aimed at friend. Friend taunted him. Kid pulled the trigger and filled his friend's head full of buckshot. Two families instantly devastated. Kid went to jail. I occasionally see the friend when I go out for a walk. He's a grown-up now, but is intellectually maybe 4 or 5 years old and will be taken care of by family for the rest of his life. Yes, the friend lived, though, with a lot of brain damage. Friend's son was with his recently engaged fiancée, who had a serious nut allergy. They were driving not far from Bendigo. They stopped off at a cafe to buy sandwiches. The woman running the cafe assured them there were no nuts anywhere near the sandwiches, so they bought them, then went on their way. Driving out away from town, she was nibbling on the sandwiches when she struggled to breathe. He stopped the car, got out, figured what was going on, went to the back of the car to get her EpiPen, which he struggled to find, but by the time he did find it, she was dead. A couple of weeks after the funeral, he got in his car, drove it back to the stretch of roadside where she died, put his foot down on the accelerator, and deliberately aimed his car at a power pole. He'd left his mum a note, addendum, for anyone wishing to blame someone for this. I need to make it clear that the contamination turned out to be an accidental tainting of a bread batch. The cafe owner did not know about it, nor did the bakery until this incident. Stood in the wrong place. He was stood in a bar minding his own business, and a fight broke out. He caught an accidental blow to the back of the head and caught his head on a wall on the way down. He never woke up. Pushed his girlfriend down a flight of stairs in front of almost everyone he knew seconds after she announced to everyone that she was pregnant with his kid. I ain't sure if she miscarried or if she just decided not to have that psycho's kid, but he spent a few years in prison over it, and he ain't welcome anywhere no more. She walks with a cane at 30. My friend's brother got too drunk, got violent. Cops came and he fought them. Once restrained, he started threatening to find and kill their children. Never seemed to get his life back on track after that. Had a friend from high school who decided to opt out by jumping off the roof at his mom's house. He landed in such a way that he survived, but is now paralyzed from the chest down, as in can't even breathe for himself and fully reliant on home health aides and his mom. He despised and named as the reason he wanted out of life. It's fair that she was a full-blown heroin addict at this point and was a shit show herself. Guy I knew in uni was inebriated and decided to try and clear a very tall spiked wrought iron fence. He impaled his balls and did not get to keep them. In college, my ex's friend was pulled over for speeding. He had drugs and alcohol in his system, and when the cop reached in his truck to grab the keys, he panicked and took off thinking the cop would let go. The cop did not let go and was dragged for quite a ways before eventually falling to the ground and hitting his head, resulting in his death. My ex's friend was charged with capital murder and sentenced to 20 years in a Mississippi state prison. 21 years old, and ruined his entire life in one night. Worked in Seattle Airport, and a co-worker decided to take his own life by stealing an airplane, fly it in loops around the Pacific Northwest airspace while being chased by the Air Force until finally going nose down. A week ago, my little sister slipped on the ice getting out of her car and hit her head. She didn't think much of it when she had a pounding headache later, figuring she just whacked herself good. Her friend told her to just sit down and take it easy until she started slurring her words, roughly 10 hours after the fall. They called an ambulance for her, but she was going into cardiac arrest. Turns out she'd stopped taking her blood thinners she was supposed to be on for clotting issues. The headache wasn't the fall. It was the clot in her leg cutting off blood to the brain. At the age of 26, she never recovered and leaves behind a 4-year-old and 2-year-old. My daughter's middle school teacher exchanged nudes with a 14-year-old on Discord across state lines. My dad once saw a patient who was a seemingly normal, well-adjusted family man in his early 40 years old, with no major health issues and in good physical shape. He was in town for a business trip and had suddenly gone blind. Come to find out, while out with his colleagues, he had tried coke for the first time in his life. It was cut with a something that created a blockage in his optic nerve, and now he's blind forever. This caused him to lose his job. He had a wife and kids and was the sole breadwinner. A local dude was sucking the toes of his 14-year-old stepdaughter while she slept. She was awake but too scared to say anything. Mom eventually found out and shit hit the fan. A buddy from high school blew through a stop sign and hit a couple of motorcyclists, killing them both. He didn't stop to render aid and fled the scene. He was busted for vehicular manslaughter and spent 12+ years in prison. He's lucky he can work for his dad, because where he lives now is not kind to felons trying to rehabilitate. Dude, several years our junior, on the fringe of the friend group, was spiraling into depression, decided to end it WA shotgun. Didn't get the angle right, blew his jaw and face off, literally. It's not for nothing that I've said ever since. There are worse things than dying. A friend of my parents was a good family man who loved his family. One day he was playing with his toddler and was playfully tossing her on the bed. She would get back up giggling and he would toss her again. In one of the tosses he threw her a bit too far and she hit a bedpost. She lived but became bedbound, unable to even talk, not quite vactable but close. He went to jail on child abuse. Lost his wife, his job, and his little girl would never be the same. The guilt was so much he ended it as soon as he could. Old. Co-worker went to Vegas, felt really good about his odds due to the liquor, and ended up betting his entire life savings on roulette and lost. He ended up losing his house, his wife, kids, and from what I've seen he lives in a tiny apartment and works a min-wage job. My cousin got back into drugs after having his life together and doing well for a long time. He started losing his shit. Apparently he had some underlying schizophrenia they think the drug use brought out. He took a rifle to a store parking lot and shot a guy, ran over his body, then had a police standoff. Said he shot the president or some crazy shit like that. Needless to say, he ruined his life, took another and destroyed another family in the process. Guy I knew, married and with 2 kids. He'd been adopted as a baby and reconnected with his bio family, including his 10-year sister who he was excited to get to know. She came to visit him planning to spend a few weeks with his family. Her first day there, he tried to molest her. She got away from him, ran to the bathroom and called 911. He lost his job, most of his friends, and we thought at the time his wife. She took him back when he got out of prison though. Middle management type man where I used to work came into the office every other day. He was known to be a stand-up guy, good family man, even a good boss, as good as it gets when it comes to management at least. He got caught having sex with a new hire. Lost his job, his marriage, and his kids stopped talking to him. That was 2 years ago. Last news I got, he's living in a studio apartment with a mattress on the floor and already spent half his savings on alcohol. Thank you for watching this video to the end. In the comments below the video, tell us if you've had a story about someone who ruined their life in one day. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss out new super interesting videos. And I also suggest you to watch our other videos.